Hey, y'all, picture this. I'm standing in my driveway, a trash bag slung over my shoulder, the sun barely up, and I'm humming some half-forgotten tune, thinking about nothing more exciting than whether I'll mow the lawn or crack open a cold one later. I'm Marcus Reed, the new police chief of Willow Creek, a sleepy little suburb where the biggest crime is usually someone's dog digging up a flower bed. But before I can even set that trash bag down, I hear this voice sharp, like a fire alarm crossed with a tea kettle screaming. You, stop right there. What do you think you're doing? And that, folks, is how I met my neighbor, Dolores Dolly Wentworth, the queen bee of Magnolia Drive, and the start of a saga that'd make a soap opera blush. So, let me paint the scene. Willow Creek's the kind of place where every lawn's manicured to perfection, wind chimes jingle like they're auditioning for a choir, and the HOA runs tighter than a military base. I'd just moved into this cozy two-story on Magnolia Drive white picket fence, creaky mailbox, the whole American dream package. I'd spent years as a cop in the city, climbing from patrol to detective, and this gig was supposed to be my soft landing, a chance to ease into community policing before I hung up my badge. But Dolly Wentworth? She had other plans. That morning, she's standing there in a lime green tracksuit, hair sprayed into a helmet that could survive a tornado, pointing at me like I'm casing her hydrangeas. "This is a respectable neighborhood," she snaps, her voice loud enough to scare the squirrels. "We don't tolerate loiterers or worse." I'm in flip-flops, holding a bag of coffee grounds and pizza boxes, so I just raise an eyebrow and say, "Morning, ma'am. Just taking out the trash. I'm Marcus, your new neighbor." Her eyes, hidden behind these giant sunglasses, narrow like she's sizing up a felon. "Neighbor? I don't know any Reeds, and you don't look like you belong on Magnolia Drive." There it is, the jab, not even subtle, aimed at the fact that I'm a black guy in her pristine, mostly white cul-de-sac. I've heard that tone before, the one that says, "You're out of place," but usually it's a glance or a whisper, not a full-on assault at 7 a.m. I keep it cool, say, "Well, I do live here, number 14, and I'm the new police chief." That should have shut it down, right? Nope. Dolly puffs up like an angry cat, clutches her phone, and shrieks, "I'm calling 911. We'll see who you are." I lean against my recycling bin, half amused, half exhausted, and tell her, "Go ahead, ma'am. I'm sure they'll be thrilled to hear this one." 5 minutes later, a patrol car rolls up, lights flashing. Out step Officers Jenkins Young, eager, probably still memorizing the handbook in Carter, a grizzled vet with a mustache that deserves its badge. Dolly's in full performance mode, flapping her arms, telling them I'm threatening her, lurking, and get this, probably dumping illegal substances. Jenkins looks confused, but Carter squints at me, then breaks into a grin. "Chief Reed? Didn't recognize you in shorts, sir." Dolly's jaw hits the pavement. Her face goes from tomato red to ghost white, and she stammers, "Chief? This is the chief." Carter nods, barely hiding his smirk. "Yep, Chief Marcus Reed. Meet your welcoming committee." The officers leave, Jenkins blushing, Carter muttering something about one for the break room, and Dolly slinks back to her house, defeated but not done. I knew that look. She wasn't the type to let embarrassment stop her. Sure enough, Dolly didn't just retreat. She declared war. It started small, petty, almost funny if it wasn't so infuriating. A typed note on my door, printed on fancy paper, reminding me that my trash bin was out past 7 p.m. by 6 minutes. Then a post on the Willow Creek Community Forum from Magnolia Guardian 88, whining about newcomers who don't respect our standards and suspicious characters claiming authority. No names, but we all knew who she meant. I'd catch her staring from her porch, phone angled like she was filming me weeding my garden. Once, she called animal control, claiming I had a vicious pit bull terrorizing the street. I don't even own a dog unless you count the dust bunnies under my couch. My officers started noticing. Carter pulled me aside one day, twirling his mustache, and said, "Chief, want us to have a chat with Ms. Wentworth?" Off the record, I shook my head. Let her dig her own grave, Carter. She's building a case against herself. But it wasn't just about me anymore. Dolly was president of the Magnolia Drive HOA, ruling it like her personal kingdom. I started digging, quietly, because something about her venom felt too practiced, too deep. I asked our records clerk, Betty Lou, a woman who knew every secret in Willow Creek, to pull any files on Dolly's 911 calls. She slid a thick folder across her desk, smirking. Dolly's called 27 times in 5 years. Marcus. Noise complaints. Suspicious. Cars usually anyone who doesn't drive a BM once. She swore a flock of geese was plotting against her roses. But it was the HOA stuff that got my attention. Residents like old Mr. Callahan, who mowed his lawn at 8 a.m. and got fined for disturbing the peace. Or the Parkers, a young couple driven out after Dolly buried them in violation notices for their kids' chalk drawings. And then there was the money HOA dues kept climbing, but the only improvement anyone saw was Dolly's new marble fountain, installed right after a sidewalk repair, fun nobody could verify. I had my detective, Sarah Vega, run a discreet background check. Sarah's sharp, doesn't miss a detail, and she came back with gold. Dolly's real name was Dolores Pratt, born in a tiny town called Pine Hollow, where her dad ran a diner called Pratt's Place. 50 years ago, that diner got shut down after complaints that it refused service to black customers, with young Dolores, a waitress, named as the ringleader, hurling slurs and bragging about keeping it pure. After the scandal, she vanished for 5 years, then reappeared as Mrs. Wentworth, married to a quiet accountant, playing the part of a proper suburbanite. But the real kicker? She'd been a secretary for a heritage group in Pine Hollow, a polite name for a white supremacist club pushing anti-integration nonsense. That's when it hit me. Dolly's freakout wasn't just about me being black, it was her past screaming back, terrified I'd blow her cover. Things came to a head at the Magnolia Drive Summer Fest, the big annual block party Dolly ran like her coronation. A new couple, the Chins Lila, who's black, and Wei, whose Chinese had moved in down the street. They were sweet, kept to themselves, but Dolly zeroed in. Lila told me Dolly had stopped by, all smiles, saying they might feel out of place at the fest, that it was traditional, and some folks might not get their vibe. Classic Dolly-coded, slimy, but clear as day, stay away. I told Lila, and Wei to show up anyway. Act normal, and let me handle the rest. I had Sarah pose as Lila's cousin, mingling with a recorder in her pocket, ready to catch Dolly in the act. The fest was picture-perfect balloons, potluck tables, kids running wild. Dolly was in a bright orange dress, flitting around, barking orders. The Chins arrived, all smiles, chatting with neighbors like Mr. Callahan, who'd brought his famous ribs. Dolly's eyes kept darting their way, her smile tighter each time. Then it happened. The Chins' 6-year-old, Mia, was playing tag, bumped a table, and a few napkins fluttered down. No harm, no foul, right? Wrong. Dolly spun around, finger jabbing at Mia, and screamed, "You little brat. You're wrecking everything. Some people can't control their kids or belong here." The party froze. Mia's eyes welled up. Lila scooped her up, and Wei stepped forward, furious but calm. Before they could say a word, Mr. Callahan boomed, "Dolly, that's enough. She's a kid, for God's sake." Dolly lost it. "This is my party," she shrieked. "I won't let it be ruined by people who don't fit in, dragging this street down." Her eyes locked on the Chins, then me. "And you, Chief, you're the worst of them, stirring up trouble." I stepped up, voice steady. "Ms. Wentworth, you've crossed a line. Harassing residents, targeting a child, and spewing hate? That's not just wrong, it's illegal. And your HOA games? We've got records, affidavits, and your old life in Pine Hollow, where you ran a racist diner and pawed around with bigots." Sarah held up her recorder, cool as ice. "It's all here, Ms. Wentworth, every word." Dolly's face crumpled, her orange dress suddenly clownish. She stammered, looked around at the neighbors staring, judging, and for once, she had no comeback. After that, it was over for Dolly. The HOA held an emergency meeting without her. She was voted out, replaced by Mr. Callahan, who promised open books and no more nonsense. An audit showed Dolly's fountain and other perks tied to shady HOA funds not enough for jail, but plenty to sue her for. She went quiet, curtains drawn. Then one day, a for sale sign popped up. She left in a taxi, head down, no fanfare. Magnolia Drive felt lighter. The Chins became regulars at barbecues, Mia's laughter echoing again. My trash runs. Boring, just how I like it. Looking back, I don't hate Dolly's a product of her choices, her fears. But I'm glad she's gone, not for revenge, but because this street, this town, deserves better. It's not perfect, but it's ours, and we're building something real. So what do you think? Was Dolly just a crank, or was there something deeper driving her? Ever dealt with someone like that in your neighborhood? Drop a comment. Share your story. I am reading everyone. And if you like this tale, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep talking about what makes a community tick. Catch y'all next time.